Hey guys, Jishia here, back with another video. This time is the highly requested Soul Musician guide. I'll be going through both subclasses that the Soul Musician has, and will show both builds that are run on both classes. There will be some gameplay footage as well, so let's get right into it. Let's start off with the main tree. The main tree will eventually be maxed out, but let's go through some of the core nodes that make the class work. Firstly, we have this node called Passion Surge. This node will continuously have a chance to give you a buff called Passion Surge whenever a melody skill is active. Passion Surge will allow you to not consume Performance Passion when activating your next special skill, which are Amplified Beat and Healing Beat. Next, Melody Chord. This will buff the healing strength of your melody skills, which will help with your early game healing. Next down the line will be Heat Surge. This node will increase the trigger chance of Passion Surge, which will help your Performance Passion resource management. Lastly, we will go for Melody Heat Core. This will increase the healing effect of melody skills on allies below half health. Notice how all the core nodes are trying to increase your melody skills capabilities? This is because the core skills of Musician are the melody skills. This is where your buffs and core skill rotations come from. Both styles of Musician all heavily depend on the uptime of these skills. Let's dive into how these melody skills work. For the early game and Dissonance Musician, we have Heroic Melody. This skill will consume another resource called Performance Energy per second to restore health to allies. During the duration of this skill, your normal attacks will evolve into Fierce Strike every 7 seconds. This enhanced basic attack will reset the cooldown of one charge of Harmonic Anthem, an expertise skill that is also part of the core rotation of Dissonance Musician. I will explain how Dissonance Musician works later. The other melody skill for Concerto Musician is called Healing Melody. This is the most important skill in the Concerto style. It will consume Performance Energy per second to restore health to allies. You will also summon a speaker on the enemy you are targeting. This speaker can be manually placed if you enable manual skill aiming in the settings over here. The skills Healing Beat, Fivefold Crescendo, Rock the Stage, and Concert Circuit will be simultaneously cast by the speaker when used. Now that we have an idea of why we upgrade these nodes first for the main talent tree, let's move on to understanding how to build and play both styles of Musician. We will first be looking at the more DPS oriented style, Dissonance Style. If you are more interested in the support oriented style, Concerto Style, use the chapters to skip directly to my guide on Concerto Musician. Firstly, the substats. For Dissonance Musician, we will want to go for Luck, Mastery, and Haste. Luck is very essential for Dissonance Musician, as the whole rotation will only work if lucky hits are procced. Not hitting lucky hits on certain skills will delay the rotation, and in some cases, completely stop the rotation and your healing will suffer immensely as a result. The healing from Dissonance Style is less consistent, but it heals in bursts. Mastery will increase the healing you provide from the damage you deal to enemies, while Haste will increase your attack speed and casting speed. Both are good stats to increase after luck, so there is no wrong answer there. For me, I value Haste over Mastery to have faster rotations. Let's take a look at the skills we will be running. The default special skill, Amplified Beat, will remain, while the ultimate will be changed into Infinite Rhapsody due to a talent node. The expertise skills we want to run are Harmonic Anthem, Rhapsody of Flame, Center Stage, and Heroic Melody. I will go over why we run these skills while we look at the talent tree. For the skill book priority, we want Rhapsody of Flame, then Heroic Melody, Harmonic Anthem, Amplified Beat, Center Stage, Encore even though we do not run it, and lastly, Infinite Rhapsody. The reason why we invest in Encore as well is because Encore strings will be affected by Encore's level. Dissonance Style keeps your attack range as a melee. However, in the main talent tree, there's a node called Variation that will give you plus 20% max HP when Dissonance Style is activated. This does help your survivability a little bit given that you are forced to be in melee range as a support. Let's now dive into the talent tree. The first node we'll be looking to go for is Restart. This is the most important node in the tree. It is the main source of a healing and skill rotation. When Harmonic Anthem or Fierce Strike triggers a lucky hit, Rhapsody of Flame's cooldown will be reset immediately, and casting it will not consume Performance Passion. Casting Rhapsody of Flame will heal your allies by a lot, and is also your main damage skill. Being able to constantly reset this skill is the core of your whole rotation. This is the reason why we want to have as high of a luck stat as possible, as resetting this skill is entirely dependent on lucky hits. Next node we will look at is Trio Rhapsody. This will increase your healing strength when standing on the flame sigil left behind by the Rhapsody of Flame, which will help your healing capabilities. Next, Severed Chapter. This will enhance your Heroic Melody to give 10% breaking efficiency to teammates and increase their damage to armor broken enemies by 10%. This will allow you to buff your team while you perform your skill rotations. Next will be Healing Node. But first, I'll have to explain another node that will have to be taken to reach the node Restart. Sound Blaze is the node that will unlock a mechanic exclusive to Dissonance Musician called Sound Wave Energy. This is a stackable counter that will tie to how Healing Node works. Healing Node will grant your normal attacks an additional instance of damage. Every 5 Sound Wave Energy gained, a node will be generated for the ally with the lowest HP. This node will heal a small amount of health over a period of time, and will immediately heal the full amount when another node is applied. This will help your healing a little bit, but it will be upgraded later down the line. So for now, we will keep it as it is. The next node to go for will be Infinite Rhapsody. This will replace your basic ultimate skill to Infinite Rhapsody. The new ultimate will change to a singular strum of the guitar to deal damage to enemies and heal allies while applying a continuously decaying shield. However, the main draw of this new ultimate is that it will double your performance passion limit and will fully recover it as well. You'll want to cast this ultimate when you find out that you have run out of performance passion without any other recovery skills. Blazing Heal is the node to go for next. Excessive healing will be stored, and when Heroic Melody is activated, the stored healing will be released to restore health every second. This will help your healing capabilities. You will now find yourself stuck, unable to unlock the juicier nodes further down the tree. This is because you will need to spend 50 talent points in total to further progress down the tree. Feel free to follow the other nodes I've unlocked, or you can choose to explore more options. After spending 50 points, we continue and look for Flame Node. This will cast a weaker Rhapsody of Flame every time you cast the Expertise skill, and grant nodes to any allies that are hit. Following down the line, we will continue enhancing the effects of Rhapsody of Flame with the node Concerto. While standing in Rhapsody of Flame, Amplified Beat will deal an additional instance of damage. However, the damage is reduced by 20%. This will help you gain more sound wave energy. Next, Flames Rampage. This will cause your Rhapsody of Flame to erupt every 3 seconds, and this interval will be shorter depending on how high your haste stat is. Harmonic Anthem will also heal the lowest health ally for 30% of the damage dealt when you stand in Rhapsody of Flame's Fire Sigil. We now want to go for nodes that upgrade nodes' healing capabilities. Resonant Counterpoint will have a chance to grant additional nodes to other allies when a node is generated. Sonic Therapy will increase the healing received of allies affected by node. Now, we will add the Permanent Encore effect. What Encore does is every time you cast a damage or healing expertise skill, there is a chance to trigger an Encore string that will cause damage to the current target or restore health to the ally with the lowest health. The node is called Encore Persistence. With this node activated, every time Encore Strings is triggered 5 times, Harmonic Anthem and Amplified Beat damage is increased. We will want to take all nodes related to Encore Strings, so we will take Encore Sharp Strike to regenerate performance energy whenever Encore String is triggered. Encore Chain will trigger Encore Strings again on the same target whenever it is triggered. Encore Luck Boost will also trigger the trigger chance of Encore Strings based on your luck stat. However, we do not want Finale Command as we will not be taking the Encore skill in this build. Instead, we use Center Stage. So let's upgrade the capabilities of Center Stage with the node Zenith Center Stage Mad Tune. Every time we consume Performance Passion, the remaining cooldown of Center Stage is reduced by 1 second. This will help you to reduce the downtime of Center Stage. We also want to take Critical Acclaim. This will allow Encore Strings to have a chance to trigger Passion Surge while on the duration of Center Stage. That is all for the talent tree for Dissonance Style. Moving on to gems, we will want to prioritize yellow tier gems, which will increase your luck and intelligence. Depending on how high your luck stat is, you can choose to embed some green and blue tier gems, which will increase your mastery and haste respectively. Early on, we will definitely want to embed all equipment with yellow tier gems. To draw closer to the endgame, use your own discretion to what gems you want to embed. I don't have a threshold percent for how high your luck should be, since we have not really reached the endgame, so you can be the judge of that. Next, we have the recommended modules. I have mentioned this section in the module guide, but I'll go a little bit more in depth here. The recommended modules are Expertise Healing Bonus, Lucky Focus, Extreme Team Luck and Crit, Intellect Bonus, and Special Healing Bonus. As a luck scaling class, Lucky Focus and Extreme Team Luck and Crit are good to have. Lucky Focus is very good for a Dissonance Musician as it will increase your healing capabilities. Extreme Team Luck and Crit will not only increase your healing capabilities, it will also buff your teammates and yourself. However, since it is an extreme module, it will only appear on gold modules and is very hard to obtain. Rhapsody of Flame is where the bulk of your healing is coming from, so Expertise Healing Bonus will help a lot there. However, I'm not too sure if Amplified Beat's healing from dealing damage is affected by Special Healing Bonus. Intellect Bonus is nice to have to boost your damage and main stat, so you're able to heal more. In my previous guide on Oracle, I included the Void Armband and what I bring. However, I've come to realize that this is not very important on supports, so I'll just briefly mention what I run. I run Dark Corrosion Retrieval, Void Pulse, and Void Power for Dissonance Musician. We have a gear set effect as well that will be obtained from the 20-man raids. The gear set effects are as follows. 2 set effect, Harmonic Anthem and Amplified Beat damage increase by 12%. 4 set effect, during the performance of Heroic Melody, the attack speed of Fierce Strike is increased by 30%. The 2 set effect is nice to have to increase your damage. The 4 set effect is mainly a quality of life upgrade to increase your skill rotation speed. Finally, we will look at what Imagines you want to run. For Gold Imagines, we have Gold Juggernaut to give your team a big shield for survivability. We also have Muku King to increase your healing capabilities and Storm Goblin King to increase your luck stat. For Purple Imagines, we have the Inferno Goblin Mage for more intelligence and Shadow Gunner Captain for more expertise, skill, damage, and healing strength. If you have the money, Tina and Irona will be good investments. Tina will boost your teammates' overall DPS by a lot and is good in every single content. Irona will allow you to revive up to 4 teammates, which is very nice to have in 20-man raids. So, how do you play Dissonance Musician? Remember the node Restart? Yep, that is where your rotation will be based on. However, before that, there's a very important order of skill that you will need to take note of. Always cast Heroic Melody after casting Center Stage. This will make sure that your Fierce Strikes will always generate every 3.5 seconds when Heroic Melody is active. With that, you have more chances to reset Rhapsody of Flame's cooldown. So after casting those 2 skills in order, you want to cast Rhapsody of Flame to send it into cooldown. Then we want to use Harmonic Anthem first. If Rhapsody of Flame resets, good! If it doesn't, use Harmonic Anthem again. Fierce Strike should be available by now. Use it once to reset the cooldown of 1 charge of Harmonic Anthem. If Rhapsody of Flame resets, yay! If not, back to rotating between Harmonic Anthem and Fierce Strike. Weave in Amplified Beat enhanced by Passion Surge every time it is available. If you find yourself out of Performance Passion, use your ultimate to restore it. Activate Center Stage every time it is off cooldown, and then activate Heroic Melody after. And there you have it. That is how you want to do your skill rotations on Dissonance Musician. It will be very confusing at first, but after some practice, you will be able to get the hang of it. That is all for the Dissonance Style. We will move on to Concerto Style, the perfect style for players who want to enhance their teammates' combat capabilities while keeping them topped up. Let's look at the substats. We will want to run Critical Hit, Haste, and Mastery. Critical Hit is the most important stat here because you will need crit to sustain your performance energy resource. Since your healing can crit, Critical Hit will also help your healing capabilities. Haste will improve your casting speed so you can throw out more skills in the same time frame, and Mastery will increase the healing you get from Healing Melody. For me, I prefer Haste over Mastery as I believe it will increase your overall healing capability more than Mastery. For skills, your special skill will transform into Healing Beat, Ultimate will transform into Concert Circuit due to your talent node, and for expertise skills, we will be running Passion Burst, Fivefold Crescendo, Encore, and Healing Melody. Skillbook priority will be Fivefold Crescendo, followed by Healing Beat, then Healing Melody, Encore, Concert Circuit, and lastly, Passion Burst. Selecting the Concerto talent tree will enhance your Healing Melody to reduce the cooldown of Fivefold Crescendo and Passion Burst by 1 second every second. I will explain why this is important later as well. The first core talent node will be Stat Resonance. This is the main selling point of Concerto Musician. When Healing Melody is activated, it will provide main stat buffs equal to 8% of your intelligence stat to your allies. This buff is not stackable with other stolen musicians, but the highest buff value will take effect. This node makes Concerto Musicians very sought after to clear high-end content like the later floors of Tower, where it is a DPS check to clear the boss within the time limit. 8% does sound very low, huh? Well, this is not its final form. There will be more nodes down the talent tree that will upgrade the buff potential of Concerto Musician. For now, we will focus on other talent nodes to help with resource management. Brilliant Charge will help with generating Performance Passion so you can activate Fivefold Crescendo and Healing Beat. Below this will be Critical Charge Rhythm, another node that helps with resource management. Whenever Fivefold Crescendo causes critical damage or healing, gain Performance Energy. The same goes for Healing Melody when it heals critically. This is why the critical hit stat is so important for Concerto Musician. Remember when I said the Concerto special effect is to reduce Fivefold Crescendo and Passion Burst cooldown when Healing Melody is active? Well, these are the 2 nodes that benefit very much from that effect. Another node that is required is Sonic Verdict. This will allow Fivefold Crescendo to do damage when Healing Melody is activated to help with Critical Charge Rhythm. Next, we want to get the nodes Critical Scale and Fiery Beat. These 2 nodes will help with increasing the critical chance of healing skills so you will proc the 2 nodes above more frequently. This will help you immensely in the early game when your critical hit stat is not very high. Now that we have solved the issue of resource management, let us move on to other nodes that increase your buffing capabilities. Stat Resonance Critical will double the buff effect provided by Healing Melody for 10 seconds after casting Passion Burst and its enhanced version. To get the enhanced version of Passion Burst, you will need the node Passion Burst Fervor. This will transform your Passion Burst into a Flamethrower after consuming 10 performance passion points. After casting the Flamethrower, it will not put your Passion Burst on cooldown. This will allow you to maintain the uptime of your enhanced buff for a total of 20 seconds. I'll explain how this works in more detail during the rotation guide later. There will be another node that upgrades the effects of stat resonance further down the tree, but for now, we move on to other nodes for more healing strength, which you will find that you will need at this point. This node will change your original ultimate to Concert Circuit, an ultimate that heals allies continuously and also deals damage to enemies. At this point, you'll find yourself stuck again with the 50 points requirement. Once again, you can follow the nodes that I have allocated, or you can cook your own build. Moving on, the node Tower Resonance will grant you a permanent Encore effect. The node will reduce the cooldowns of all expertise skills by 1 second every time Encore strings are triggered. This will help your rotations immensely, as your cooldowns for important skills like Passion Burst, Fivefold Crescendo, and Encore are really long. Now with this, it'll be the perfect time to go for the last node that will increase your buffing potential. The node Stat Resonance Overload will double the buff effect provided by Healing Melody for 15 seconds after activating the skill Encore. This means you still have to take Encore even though you already have a permanent Encore effect. Before I demonstrate the effects of the buff effects of Stat Resonance, let's finish up the core nodes of Concerto Musician. To wrap this up, let us take all nodes related to Encore strings to further enhance its ability to reduce cooldowns. Encore Chain will trigger an additional Encore string on the target whenever Encore string is triggered on the same target. Critical Encore will increase the chance of Encore strings triggering by 1% for every 1% critical hit chance you have. This node is also called Encore Chain. It is likely a translation issue, but it will trigger Encore strings immediately on targets affected by Encore within 10 seconds after casting Encore whenever an expertise skill is cast. These 3 nodes will help a lot with triggering Encore strings to reduce cooldowns of expertise skills. Recall that I mentioned that there are 2 nodes that double the effect of Stat Resonance. So is it a 24% or 32% buff when both Encore and Passion Burst are activated? It will be 32%. I will prove it here with a short demonstration. My friend Bidoof will be showing their stats page to demonstrate the effects of different combination of skills I activate. Here are how my skill animations look like. This is me using Healing Melody. Notice that I summon a speaker. This is me using Encore. And this is me using Passion Burst. So firstly, they have 2188 agility. I will then activate Healing Melody to provide 8% on my starting intelligence stat, which is at 2208. They now have 2365 agility, which increased by 177 from 2188. This equals 8% on my starting intelligence stat, rounded up. Note that the buff effect provided by Healing Melody will always be based on your starting intelligence stat before getting buffed by anything. I will now activate Healing Melody followed by Passion Burst. Note that the agility increases to 2541. The increase of 353 equals to 16% on my starting intelligence stat. After waiting for Passion Burst's 10-second effect to expire, notice the agility decreased back to 2365. This means Passion Burst does indeed double the buff effect of Stat Resonance. Now we will try Healing Melody with Encore. The agility stat also increases to 2541, which was an increase of 353 again. Which means Encore also doubles the effect of Stat Resonance. Now we will test Healing Melody followed by Passion Burst and then Encore. Let's see if this is 32%. After using the 3 skills in order, their agility went up to 2895. The increase is 707, which is indeed 32% rounded up. Let's test Healing Melody followed by Encore and then Passion Burst just in case. After using the 3 skills in order, their agility went up to 2895 as well. This concludes that it is indeed a 32% buff, which means the 2 nodes that affect Stat Resonance are multiplicative. Those buffs are pretty high, huh? Well, let's move on to gems. We'll want to prioritize red tier gems, which will increase your critical hit and intelligence. Depending on how high your critical stat is, you can choose to embed some green and blue tier gems, which will increase your mastery and haste respectively. Early on, we will definitely want to embed all equipment with red tier gems. As we draw closer to the endgame, use your own discretion to what gems you want to embed. The recommended threshold to stop at is 50% critical hit, as the node Critical Encore only requires 50% critical hit to increase Encore String's trigger rate to 100%. Next, we have the recommended modules. I have mentioned this section in the module guide, but I'll go a little bit more in depth here. The recommended modules are Intellect Bonus, Expertise Healing Bonus, Special Healing Bonus, Critical Focus, and Extreme Team Luck and Crit. Intellect Bonus will increase your intelligence stat, and that will increase the buff amount that you give to your teammates. Expertise and Special Healing Bonus will not only add to the intelligence stat, it will also help you a lot in the healing department. Critical Focus will help your healing output as well. Extreme Team Luck and Crit will give you and your team a buff to your luck and critical damage, which is very nice to have. Once again, since it is an extreme module and they are very hard to obtain as they only appear on gold modules, it is not important enough to warrant going for this specifically. I will also briefly mention the Void Armband passives: Dark Corrosion Retrieval, Void Mist Secret, and Void Aura for Concerto Musician, but bring whatever you like. For gear set effects, it is as follows. The 2 set effect, Healing Beat Healing Strength, is increased by 20%. 4 set effect, when Healing Melody is not activated, 2 points of performance energy are obtained every 3 seconds. This 2 set effect outshines the 4 set effect heavily. This is because your Healing Melody should always be active to keep buffing your allies when you are at this stage of the game. The 2 set effect helps Healing Beats Healing Strength, which is good since you do spam this skill whenever Passion Surge is available. Finally, we'll look at what Imagines you want to run. For gold Imagines, we have Gold Juggernaut to give your team a big shield, Beno Bizarre Incubator to apply vulnerability to the enemy so your teammates can do more damage, Phantom Arachnocrab or the Celestial Flyer to increase your mastery or haste respectively. For purple Imagines, we have the Inferno Goblin Mage for more intelligence, and Shadow Gunner Captain and Bow Warrior Tyrant for more expertise and special skill damage and healing strength respectively. If you have the money, Tina and Arona will be good investments. Tina will boost your teammates' overall DPS by a lot and is good in every single content. Arona will allow you to revive up to 4 teammates, which is very nice to have in 20-man raids. So how do you play Concerto Musician effectively? Your main advantage over the Verdant Oracle is your buff, so you will have to be able to maintain the uptime of the maximum buff level as long as you can. To do this, we have to understand the cooldowns and uptimes of your abilities that activate and upgrade the buff value. Using the talent tree I went through previously, Healing Melody will provide 8% when activated. Passion Burst or its enhanced version will double this by 10 seconds, and only Passion Burst has a cooldown of 20 seconds. Using the enhanced Passion Burst will not put Passion Burst on cooldown. Encore will also double the buff value for 15 seconds with a cooldown of 45 seconds. With cooldown reductions from the Concerto effect, your Passion Burst 20-second cooldown is essentially cut by half into 10 seconds. Furthermore, whenever Encore strings are triggered, it will reduce the cooldown of your expertise skills by 2 seconds each time. So Passion Burst's cooldown will further reduce to at most 8 seconds if you have 50% critical chance to guarantee the triggering of Encore strings. Therefore, if done right, you will have 100% uptime on the 16% buff with just Passion Burst. Now let's factor in Encore. When it is casted, it will double the buff for 15 seconds. Concerto effect does not affect the cooldown of Encore, but expertise skills will. Encore strings will trigger when an expertise skill is cast. This includes Encore itself. Overall, the effects of all nodes related to Encore strings will bring the cooldown of Encore to at most 30 seconds. So in theory, this will allow you to keep a 50-50 split of 16% and 32% buff uptime. The rotation is simple. Use Healing Melody, followed by Encore, then Passion Burst to activate the 32% buff. Then use FIFO Crescendo to trigger Encore strings and regenerate energy. Weave in Healing Beat whenever it is enhanced by Passion Surge, or use it without to consume Performance Passion to enhance Passion Burst. Enhanced Passion Burst will also trigger the doubling of the buff. Cast both Passion Burst and its enhanced version whenever possible. In an uncontrolled environment, Encore should also be cast whenever possible. However, you can also align the casting of Encore along with major DPS windows when you play with friends. I recommend you to cast Passion Burst and instantly release it since the buff only triggers after the skill completes. Here is a full rotation as an example. That is all for the Concerto Musician. I'll now be yapping about how it feels to play Soul Musician throughout the early game till now. Early on, Soul Musician will feel like it's not keeping up with healing requirements. That is normal. Soul Musician does not perform well without proper stats. For Dissonance, if your luck stat is too low, you won't be able to reset your Rhapsody of Flame to heal your allies. For Concerto, if your critical hit stat is too low, you won't be able to sustain your melody skill for long and you will experience downtimes. Your cooldowns are also extremely long compared to Healing Oracle, so you won't be able to heal on demand consistently. The buff uptime in the early game is also not very high, as well as the buff value since it scales off your intelligence stat. So there is no advantage at all in playing Concerto early on. If you want to play Soul Musician regardless of the early game, I recommend you to play Dissonance Style. Slowly transition to Concerto Musician once you unlock enough talent points and farm perfect subsets for Concerto. While Dissonance Style will still struggle, it will be more consistent and easier to play. Someone who has played both Oracle and Musician extensively, my ultimate recommendation for you when starting out to play is to play Oracle first. Once we get critical hit and haste subsets on all your gear, swap to Concerto Musician and you have a much better time with it. It can be demoralizing to find yourself not being able to heal with Musician and end up swapping into Oracle without experiencing the full potential of Soul Musician. Lastly, I want to add that there are balance changes coming, and based on what I've seen, both Musician subclasses will be very viable in all sorts of content. This will likely be implemented during global launch, so don't worry about having to swap to Oracle for harder and more sustained demanding content. I will make an update video regarding the balance changes once it's live, so keep a lookout for that. Also, I will be taking a break from making guides until my fingers recover from straining them, so I apologize for not being able to release more guides since the CBT is underway and many of you will be interested in other classes as well. I will make some infographics instead, so hopefully those will be sufficient to explain the class mechanics well. As usual, do subscribe if you enjoy my content and want to see more. I really do appreciate it. I'm going for 500 subscribers on YouTube or 500 followers on Twitch, so I can apply to be an official content creator for Star Resonance. If I missed out anything or if you have any questions, do drop a comment below to ask and I will answer them as best as I can. Thank you for watching everyone and take care. Bye bye!